Hello, everybody. So we are still missing one panelist, but we will be flexible if he's joining or not. Because I was very happy because, we were only a male panel and now we should have a lady on the panel. So let's have a short introduction of the panel and myself, trying to be short because it's not about selling our products, it's about having the discussion about the metaverse, which I think you want to hear. So my name is Philippe Gerwill. I'm an advisor for DeHealth. So it's a startup, I would say all the topics you just saw before, like ARIA, plus what Ardi said and all that. And I think the key point is that we have already 60,000 users of the application, of our application to share, all this data in about more than 40 countries. And there's ongoing process. So we just launched an API basically to vacuum up the data from the hospital and the doctor. So I said it's just products coming, but I think that's all for it. Let's move now to the metaverse, or maybe first you introduce yourself, I think, and then we will move to the topic. So Amir.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Amir Bozorgzadeh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Virtuleap. My background is originally as a market researcher, then turned games publisher, and then for about 5 years I wrote about virtual reality almost exclusively for TechCrunch and VentureBeat until I realized that the only critical use cases for frontier technologies like virtual reality are either in two sectors, either education or healthcare. And healthcare is certainly where virtual reality is a critical application. In 2018, I incorporated Virtuleap. We are a company that combines the neurosciences with virtual reality in order to address the huge impact that cognitive disorders have on society, most especially cognitive illnesses like Alzheimer's disease, ADHD, all sorts of cognitive rehabilitation use cases. Our company is headquartered in Portugal. I am actually now based in Barcelona, Spain, where we're opening an office there. We work with companies like Roche and MIT and Stanford to really show how virtual reality as the most first embodied digital format can really help us tackle these really important mental health disorders that I think virtual reality is first and foremost the real special technology that can address these issues.
So, Lucas?
My name is Lucas Perez. I'm a strategic and medical expert in the large field of healthcare. I'm also an author, and I release a book at the end of the month on metaverse and healthcare. And I host also for the European Commission a web series based on disruptive and innovative healthcare solutions, such as microfluidics, such as machine learning, blockchain for health, of course, artificial intelligence. And on this line, I would like to say that metaverse and all the possibility that metaverse offers us in the field of healthcare, in the field of medicine, is very promising in terms of use case for hospital, clinics, CROs, drugstores, and pharmacies. I will share you some examples at the end. But I think that it's very promising. Sometimes maybe more marketing for many stakeholders, such as, for example, 𝐂𝐨𝐬𝐵, that is an American retail company that has filed some patents on the metaverse for sell some prescription drugs, virtual prescription drugs, quasi-drugs, and cosmetics. It's just the beginning for now, but yes, I think it's very promising, and I'll let you.
Valentino.
Hello everyone. I'm Valentino Megale. I'm from Italy. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Softcare Studios, which is a digital health company using virtual reality for pain management. So our goal is basically to reduce and limit the need to administer drugs like sedatives and painkillers during medical procedures. We started with pediatrics. We are now also expanding with new target patients like adults and elders, partnering with companies like Roche, Novartis, and BD. And I'm also advisor and member of 𝐂𝐸-𝐸, which is a global no-profit organization working on privacy and safety in the metaverse. So in immersive technologies and the incoming metaverse.
Thank you very much. Lucas, there must be something wrong about us, you know. He said that he's Italian, and we didn't mention that we are French, so nobody's perfect, you know. So let's move now to the topic. First of all, I think I was very impressed by the opening speech of the Minister of Health of Malta this morning. You know, I would love many other ministers of health in other countries to have such a mindset and such a view. And why I'm saying that is he mentioned also the metaverse, you know, for the medical education, for example, you know, which is a big topic. And I also, by accident, I was publishing a newsletter on LinkedIn on Sunday about medical education in the metaverse. So I think to start, and let's start with you, Amir, because again, a lot of people think metaverse, you know, gaming and all that stuff, and it has even more a negative connotation. But the space where you are working is something which is already proven. You know, in mental health and, you know, all the things that you talk about, cognitive disorder and all that. So what is your view of, you know, how metaverse will further develop in that space for you?
It's a very, you know, we can start with the ugly first and then go with the bad and then finally get to the good. And that's really the reality of this sector. It's one in which you have to be a masochist to start a company that is in a frontier emerging technology like virtual reality, and then try to address the most stubborn industry of healthcare, in which, you know, there's so many very barriers. And so you have to be obviously very interested at a very deep level to want to self-torture yourself for a number of years through clinical trials, in all these different areas, win stakeholders across hospital and healthcare sectors. But of course, if your life is meant for that, then at least you didn't live without a real cause behind you. The sector of virtual reality for healthcare, and I say virtual reality because I absolutely abhor the word metaverse. And I know I'm in this panel, but I abhor a metaverse means an interconnected next generation of the web, in which different virtual reality experiences and augmented reality experiences can interconnect seamlessly, and we're very, very far away from such a world. But you know, this word still has some promise, and I will say that we have gone through 3 to 4 generations now, waves of the metaverse in its trying to emerge into reality, and it hasn't done so yet. But it started from Timothy Leary and Terence McKenna from the psychedelics world, talking about the virtual reality, transcendental space and time, kind of digital embodied medium. And it went through the 90s. Our advisors include Albert Skip-Rizzo of UCLA. I think a lot of us know Walter Greenleaf of Stanford VR. These people were doing virtual reality for healthcare issues since literally the 90s. And it dies, it comes back. It dies, it comes back. And the hardware gets seamless, it gets more interconnected. And we're at a time where this can happen. However, the biggest barrier and the most ugliest thing is that a lot of us don't stay alive long enough to make it happen. Venture capital.
Want to start the topic about longevity or something like that, no?
Yeah, I mean, we put in all the buzzwords we can: longevity, metaverse, you know, hypergalactic space federation. You know, we can do everything. I think I've taken a lot of the space, but the thing is, the best and the brightest of the world are in these industries, and that should give us a lot of heart.
Thank you very much. So maybe to move on, Valentino, at the beginning of Amir's answer, he mentioned also a little bit the healthcare, the ecosystem, you know. So I think that's the other point, you know. The healthcare ecosystem is quite complex with various different stakeholders, you know. So how do you see that, you know, why and how metaverse-related products can lead to meaningful outcomes, you know, for that environment?
This environment, yes. So the interesting part is that when you introduce some new technologies in healthcare to support patients, for instance, you never support the patients only. You always have some degree of impact on all the other stakeholders within the healthcare. You cannot move one piece in this big puzzle, which is the hospital, without having an impact on all the other pieces. It's a domino effect. So when you start supporting patients, you finally end reshaping sometimes the work routine of the medical staff. They are interconnected. And the interesting part is that the work routine of the medical staff is designed not only to tackle, to solve a condition, an illness, but also to manage the behavior of patients resulting from that condition. So new technologies allow us today to target and change and modify also the behavior of patients. And virtual reality is one of these technologies. When we talk about virtual reality, when we talk about immersive technologies, when we talk about this spatial aspect of the metaverse, it's all about the experience. We can use virtual reality to change how patients experience therapy. And thanks to that, we can not only improve the quality of therapy experience, we can literally rewrite the work routine of the medical staff. We can rewrite, reshape the cost structure of the work routine of the medical staff. And also the logistics and the specialized personnel which is involved in these medical procedures. So the final challenge is not the technology. Today, technology is performant. We don't need the metaverse in 10 years. Okay, today technology can make a lot, can provide a lot of value. The real challenge is how to integrate these technologies and the content within the traditional processes. This is the biggest challenge because it involves educating the healthcare personnel. It involves communicating wisely with patients and caregivers.
Thank you very much, and again, between you and Amir, I think there is no conflict. So Amir is talking, I think, about the end state, and there may even be no end state because it's always going to evolve. But we are going step by step to already move in that direction. So Lucas, from your point of view, still counting on these different stakeholders, so let's talk about hospitals, pharmacy, and all that. There is also an aspect of product, because if you talk metaverse about other industries, as I said, forget the gaming for the moment, but let's go, to digital fashion and all that things. They have Fashion Week. The banking, MasterCard, Visa are on the metaverse. So what's about, like CVS, I think, is also there. So what is your point in terms of selling and buying products, healthcare products on the metaverse?
So by experience and by analogy, I would like to say that what is important for this type of actor, not for me, it's to buy lands to have a property in the metaverse. And we saw that, for example, with Nike. Nike, for example, has bought some lands in a famous metaverse called Roblox. Its competitor, Adidas, has bought some lands in another metaverse called the Sandbox. And the notion of property is very important for this kind of actor to sell and buy digital product, and digital services in the metaverse. And it's important to understand this current logic of the metaverse. And by transversality, it will be the same for the healthcare sector. For example, we have a few companies based in this field, healthcare companies such as 𝐂𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐻, that you know, and other.
We talked about 𝐂𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐻, so we have one great guy from 𝐂𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐻 here.
And yeah, and this type of stakeholders want through their clients, because 𝐂𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐻 works, unless I'm mistaken, with hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, and end users, of course, and they want to reinforce the presence of their clients in the metaverse. So for me, in my opinion, the logic is more focused on marketing, on visibility, maybe credibility, but more focused on visibility. And so I would like to say also that in the metaverse, it will be possible also to make some action for actors like NGOs, for example, or charities. For fundraising, it could be an interesting track to offer some NFT. So NFT is this unique title of property, and you can sell some virtual goods or virtual products through this notion of NFT that is very interesting. And I think that, so if it's an hospital, if it's a clinics, a pharmacy, and other, the main goal is about visibility for now. And the use case, yes, will be there in the future, but for now, it's about visibility.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, I have to be careful. We are in Malta, so I should not criticize too much the gaming industry, you know. So, but I think there is some negative aspect coming over. You know, that we talk metaverse like a parallel life. So we go in and you come out. And that's why we talk about the younger generation being too addicted and all that. My personal view is there is no going in and going out. For me, the metaverse is the next biggest disruptor after the smartphone. And the smartphone is something you have every day, you use every day. You would have a problem. So metaverse must become something that is part of our life and not something I go in and out. And again, it will take time. I agree with you, to get there, you know. But now the next point is also, so there will be a lot of activities and all that in the metaverse. So we should talk, and it was also mentioned before, about data. You know, data, AI and all that, because that environment will also generate a lot of data that, you know, we want to use, you know, to have a better healthcare offering and all that. So, Amir, what is your view, you know, on the data piece, you know, in the metaverse?
Okay, and I want to again say I absolutely abhor this word metaverse. I don't know what it means in a lot of the ways, and I feel like an old person in my head sometimes, in and out and out and in. When the virtual reality or any technology can be used to transcend something that's like a barrier, like we have a brain issue, a mental issue, a phobia with people, then you can use these technologies to transcend that and get back into the nice beaches of Malta or something like this. It's how do we use technology to get back into the real world? That's my interest. I don't want to get lost in any metaverse. I like reality. But when it comes to data, we have a huge opportunity and we have a huge threat. And there's a lot of movement on both sides. For example, our company, we use virtual reality in a very special way. We capture not only the psychometric data of the content and what it captures of your psychological and cognitive strengths and weaknesses, but we also are capturing your physical data. We know your gesticulation of your arms. We know your postural data. There was a study that came out about 6 weeks ago in which they could predict if you're going to have Alzheimer's based on your postural alignment. Data is extremely, extremely important for all sorts of ways we don't know, and VR captures all of it in real time. Over 200,000 data points every 2 minutes is being captured about the human condition. And on top of that, we are partnered with HP, and we have physiological sensors even being captured. So we can capture your heart rate variability, your pupil dilation tracking, all of this to actually, with AI learning algorithms right now in our system, can capture whether you're focused or not. We know if you're bored out of your mind right now watching us right now in this panel. We know that in VR. And all this data about the human condition being used for marketing purposes, for bad things maybe, potentially, or for researching autism, for researching ADHD. So how do we navigate these crazy waters in which we could use it as a double-edged sword for good things or for bad things? That's the very, very murky waters that we're walking into.
Thank you very much. And I think the key point, as you said, you know, we are even providing more and more data, you know, but it's also the use of the data we should be able, and again, it can be used on both sides, you know. So Valentino, what is your point in terms of, you know, this data aspect, you know, and really maybe the risk and the challenges, you know, of this data in the metaverse?
Yeah, of course. So I really like the example by Amir that immersive technologies include our body within the data collection. It's a powerful image because we are used to experience digital content on a screen, big, little, mobile, desktop, but virtual reality can really provide a spotlight on the intimate complexity of our identity. So it can collect so much data that is able to understand. It's not only about movement, okay? It's about who we are. It's about our behavior. It's about our illnesses. We can just move in a game, play a game, and basically we can collect potentially digital biomarkers about the presence or not, or the future development of a cognitive disease. So it represents a huge opportunity in terms of tracking in healthcare. It's huge. neurorehabilitation, and so on, but it is also the new surface attack for cybersecurity threats. It can be used to collect data so personally sensible data to be used against that person. It can be used, basically virtual reality is a technology that starts as a persuasion tool. It's all about illusion. It's an illusion with a goal, with a purpose. It is able to trigger adaptation dynamics in our brain. So this is good when it is used with an oversight within the healthcare industry. But it can be used to attack a person, to steal data, to provide a content which is not adapt for a specific age group, like not only children, but also teenagers. It can be used to provide fake news. It can be used to, welcome. It can be used to modify our biases, gender, racial biases. There are amazing research by Mel Slater, who is using virtual reality to recalibrate gender and racial biases for good. But if it can be done for good, it can be done for bad. It depends from how the tool is used. The tool is neutral, but it's powerful.
His last question, and then you will do the closing on the topic. So, Lucas, I think there's an interesting question around, saying metaverse or virtual reality. We talk about 3D data. So we talked about data. So what is the point, about 2D data and 3D data? How do you see really it is moved to 3D data? What would be different? What would be maybe added value, to talk about 3D data in the metaverse?
I think that metaverse is about a 3D immersive experience, three-dimensional, two-dimensional. It's the two terms that we have to think. So as you probably know, internet is still two-dimensional. Just look at your email, just look at your internet browsing, it's two-dimensional. And some big players in the industry, such as Google, such as Intel, or such as Meta, working for this migration from the two-dimensional model to the three-dimensional model. And the key point in this work is immersion, simulation, how to simulate the real world into the virtual world. And this migration, I think, will be important in the future to accelerate this trend. And there is a correlation with that, is the fact that we have not enough 3D data today, because to the fact that 3D data is heavy data. And it's heavier than a 2D data, so it's very complicated nowadays to store them, to share them. And in addition of that, you have a lot of silos between the manufacturer, between the service providers, and it's very difficult to accelerate this adoption of 3D data.
Okay, thank you very much. So now, Livia, you have the starting and closing words. So again, I think it's an opportunity for you to talk about the metaverse, but I think the metaverse in your job, what is the impact, for example, on clinical trials, recruitment, or whatever?
So when we talk about simulation, I think it's very interesting how we can actually simulate a different reality, right? Because when we talk about neuroscience, and my background's in neuroscience and neurocomputation, when we talk about how do we create a physiological response in individuals, actually a lot of things is simulation, right? So if you think about how we perceive pain, actually how you perceive pain is how you feel pain, right? So if I believe that I'm not feeling as much pain, actually I trigger my mu-opioid receptors in my brain to relieve pain in my body, right? And that's why you see soldiers, they get shot, they don't notice it until later on. In a similar way, we're using technologies like AR and VR today to simulate this perception, this different perception, right, that triggers a different physiological response in the body, that you're able to essentially control these different responses. And I see this is constantly improving. Like when we're talking about different treatments for dementia, for stroke moving forward, it's all about how do we almost manipulate the brain in a way to create the physiological responses we want in healthcare.
Okay, thank you very much. We are over time, but of course, feel free to reach out to all the panelists. You know, I think they can all talk for hours on those topics. And thank you very much again to the panelists.